Any war has a cultural background. And this war is definitely a clash of two different cultures.
Ukrainian art has been overshadowed for a very long time by Russia. The cultural field has to be a battlefield as well, and we have to fight.
In the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a small team led by 3 Ukrainian curators and 1 artist fought to present their work at one of the world's most prestigious art fairs, the Venice Biennale.
Well, you know, when your son is getting close to you at 5 o'clock in the morning and saying, "Father, they began," you know, definitely you don't think about your projects in Venice. You know. It was quite a serious decision because at that time I realized that it will be important really for the Ukraine to be represented on the cultural scene. You can have problems with the politics, you can have problems with the economy, even deep and huge problems, but still you can survive. But if you don't have culture, there is no nation, there is no country.
As Ukraine was thrown into crisis, the team behind the art pavilion had to prioritize personal safety as well as their mission. Eventually, they would plan routes to Venice, mostly driving across Europe with their families, their belongings, and parts of the artwork, Fountain of Exhaustion.
In the first day of the war, my role a little bit shifted. I didn't have anybody to take care about besides myself, perhaps, and our project. I needed to head west. Roads were jammed and very dangerous to drive at the time. It took me around 6 days to reach the border with Romania.
Meanwhile, Pavlo, having spent 6 days in a bomb shelter in the city centre, evacuated from Kharkiv to Vienna with his wife, a friend and her mother, and his own 92-year-old mother.
And I was quite abrupt, you know. I said, "Mom, you know, I'm 63, you know, I'm the oldest man in the family, so, you know, it's like a kid. Let's go to the car, please, and we have to leave, you know."
Lizaveta fled from Kiev to Lviv. She was heavily pregnant.
We didn't want to move, though it was pretty scary. You know, we heard explosions and gunshots almost every day. The trip took us 3 days. We received a lot of support to accommodate us, to help us.
Boris also fled to Lviv, finally arriving in Venice only a few days before the launch.
Every man in Ukraine will go to battlefield, but we have many roles in this war. I got a letter from Ministry of Culture to represent Ukraine. For me, it's not easy to be here, but I will come back in 3 weeks to Ukraine.
In Milan, Maria and Pavlo found a company to rebuild part of the installation that had been left behind with the original design team in Kiev.
And then we finally reached our destination in Venice.
It's good to be together.
It's good to be together. Yeah, exactly. It's good to be together.
We are excited. We're excited, yeah. No one believes that we are excited. Guys, we are excited.
Pavlo Makov is one of the most interesting and important artists from Kharkiv.
He belongs to the first kind of post-Soviet and independent Ukrainian generation of artists.
This artwork was made in the local context of the city of Kharkiv in the mid-90s.
After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the city infrastructure, its grandeur, started to deteriorate.
This idea of exhaustion of the big city, which exhausts itself on many, many levels, was obvious for Pavlo.
The concept inspired over a dozen works of art, but none had functioned with flowing water.
When we approached him asking if he would like to produce it finally in Venice, for him it was the beginning of a completely new story. For us, for the whole team, for the artists, it was extremely important to produce it the way it was, without any minor changes, without any damage, without any adjustments, just to show that the artwork is there, no matter what.
Well, this new attention that we are getting now, it's a little bit painful because we do understand that this attention is paid by blood and victims in our country, Russia is saying now, Ukraine is not a country, it has no culture, it doesn't exist, Culture is a national security question. Culture is how we can live together, how all these different individuals can find rules to act as the society. I don't feel myself even an artist here. I much more feel myself as a citizen who has his duty to represent his country, and that's it. As well as all the curators, we have the same idea.
Of course, it's not an optimistic symbol, but in the end, the very presence of it in Venice, I think it will give hope to show that Ukraine is capable of doing things, not just hiding in a shelter, not just surviving, but really do things to build a future.